Patrick Mahomes started this year as the MVP favorite, but has slipped to third behind Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Put their undefeated streak on the line against the Bake Show and the Bucs on Monday night. Nick, can Patrick Mahomes be the MVP favorite after this game?
Absolutely. So it would take, for him to be the favorite after this game, the following would need to happen. The Bills would need to lose to the Dolphins, which I think is possible. It's 58 degrees in Orchard Park. I looked it up.
Do you think Josh is just on stacking W's, or because he's had those wins that he's done nothing?
No, right. So I think for him, it's a kind of a mix, because his touchdown and interception ratio was sparkling, but he also has two games that are like, oh my God, like those were terrible. But I think they're going to have a gaudy record that people assign to him. But so that would,
because it still feels like a one-man show to a lot.
Yes. So I think Josh would have to, they would have to lose this week.
Okay.
And I think that Lamar would have to have a nondescript game, which I think is on the board.
Even if they win.
Yeah, even if they win. Because I think that if it's a Derrick Henry game and Lamar doesn't do much, because I think never underestimate the impact of standalone games.
True.
And Mahomes getting kind of the last bite at the Week 9 apple Monday night on national TV against a bad opponent. And the thing or a bad defense, I should say. The thing he has going for him is all the other top-tier candidates, Goff, CJ, Josh, except for Lamar, their bad game cost their team the game. Goff, their one loss, he threw a pick the first pass of the game and then threw a fourth-quarter pick when they could have won. CJ, you just talked about 11 of 30 last night, almost Josh's 9 of 30 from a few weeks ago, and the 86-yard game. I just mentioned Josh's 9 of 30. He was brutal against Baltimore. Mahomes, oddly, has had two bad games, and in both the games, he won them the game with a play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Cincy game I thought was brutal.
Right.
He completes gets the first down on 4th and 16. And then the Niner game statistically was awful. He clinches it essentially with the run down the sideline Mustafa play. So when you have all those things going, and then you also have the fact that in the fourth quarter of these games, he has made no mistakes. The touchdown and interception ratio is not gaudy. It's only 3 touchdowns, but it's the no mistakes. The rating is 120, and you take into account that the Chiefs have controlled their games all year long to the degree of trailing we can show you the numbers trailing in the fourth quarter. They basically never do it. I mean, it's 40% what the next lowest is. I absolutely think they look great on Monday night, score a bunch of points, he plays well. The narrative Tuesday will be, are they going to go undefeated?
Yep.
And I think that's the path.
See, that's what I was waiting to hear you say, because you said Josh has to lose, Lamar has to be pedestrian even if they win, and you didn't say just until the end. Yeah. Mahomes does have to have a big game.
Oh, yes.
Like a big game,
right.
like a
Correct.
3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Okay. It's possible, but I think both Josh Allen and Lamar have to lose. Like, I think even if they beat Denver, it is a Derrick Henry game. Lamar doesn't play poorly, but isn't spectacular. I think he'll still be out in front because he's got he's got 17 touchdowns passing, only 2 interceptions. Like, his numbers are so far ahead of Mahomes. But I think the interesting thing here, Nick, is at what point, and if the odds, obviously, Mahomes is right there. But it's going to really get interesting if Mahomes doesn't break out individually, right? But they keep winning. I mean, we've thrown it around a little bit on the show, but how much is that if they get to, even if it's not 17-0, if it's 16-1? And
I think it's 16-1, he wins the MVP no matter what. Or 17-0. I'm not a voter, right, but I think at 15-2, that if let's say somehow they go 15-2, despite his numbers staying where they are, I don't think he wins.
The numbers are so
pedestrian.
As much as I love money, they're not even pedestrian. Like, he's 23rd in the league in passer rating. That 84.9. Nick, he is the only full-time starter who has more interceptions than touchdowns. And I agree with you. I don't think he's playing as poorly as the numbers, but he's got 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
I think
and he has been clutch. But the other guys, Spencer Rattler, like Gardner Minshew, not full-time starters. No other full-time starter has more interceptions than touchdowns.
I think the glass half full, if you will, argument about the numbers is it's really only one set. It's the touchdown interception ratio, because that is what's dragging down the passer rating, which is what you mentioned, because that's 25%. His yards per game are fine. His completion percentage is good. His yards per attempt is fine. The touchdown interception ratio is brutal. There's no, listen, I mean, the interceptions are the highest they've ever been per game for him, and the touchdowns are the lowest. I'm not defending that, but it's not as if all of a sudden his accuracy's fallen off. He's not throwing for any yard. It's this one specific thing that then draws down.
Thing.
Of course. I mean, because touchdown interception, I said 25% passer rating. It's not. It's half. Because 25% of pass rating is your touchdowns, another 25% is your interceptions, and so.
Do you think he's going to try to come? I mean, I think we just need to see clean games. Like, there's so many he's had enough silly interceptions that now the margin of that wasn't my fault
Doesn't matter
interception.
as much.
They start to get added on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him just have a clean game. It's weird that we've started to just accept these interceptions as part of the Mahomes.
Well, I mean, listen, when his statistically most impressive year, the 50 touchdown year, I think he had 12 interceptions. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. But my point is, there's only been one, I think, 2-year stretch, 19 and 20, when he was like Rodgers-esque as far as, 5-6 touchdowns for the season. He's always taken some chances. So I'm not, again, no one has heard me say this year, I think he's played up to his own standard or great over the course of the season. I do think, and the reason that I do think the Chiefs have the ability to flip a switch different than any other football team I can remember, is because he has played exactly like himself in these fourth quarters.
Right.
Just like he did exactly when the playoffs started.
All right. Time for Bruce Ballot.
Yes.
Gander at the MVP.
I want to hear your guys' opinion of my ballot this week. All right, this is not a projection because Mahomes, it's fair that he's still in the projection. No, you know what, though? As we get deeper into the season and they remain undefeated, he almost got on the ballot. Oh, wow. He's in the what is it? The teams that were considered
also receiving votes.
Also, yeah, somewhere like that.
But there's no.
All right, at number
honorable mention.
Yeah, at number 5, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
All right, he's no longer on pace to break the record for most rushing yards in a season, but he is still on pace to become the first running back ever to have 2 2,000-yard seasons.
That would be crazy.
That'd be incredible. Yeah. And he last week he only had 73 yards, I think it was.
Yeah.
But he only had 11 carries, so he still averaged 6.5 yards a pop. So he's at 5. At 4, Josh Allen. Josh Allen, Nick, since they got Amari Cooper, and Cooper hasn't had crazy numbers, but he's opening things up for everybody else, and they're throwing it more, so they're trusting Josh more through the air. Since he's gotten Amari Cooper in these 2 games, 303 yards a game passing. So he's picked up, like you said earlier, 14 touchdowns, just 1 interception. I think 3rd in the league in passer rating. At number 3, Jaden Daniels. And there's an argument for him to be the MVP. The numbers aren't spectacular, but 7 passing touchdowns, 2 picks, but he's got 4 rushing touchdowns and just has changed the trajectory, the atmosphere, everything about that franchise. And as you guys said, it has some spectacular plays on national television. So good for him. He's at number 3. At number 2, Jared Goff. All right, Jared, at some point we got to start giving the guy credit. He is brilliantly orchestrating what's the best offense in football, averaging 33 points a game. He's 2nd in passer rating, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, having a great year, and that offense is just cruising. At number 1, that's Lamar. Even though they lost last week, I mean, his numbers are so far ahead, like 17 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions, 2 rush touchdowns, leads the league in passer rating. Nick, 6 straight games now with a passer rating of 100 or more. Goff's got 5 straight, the last 5. Lamar's the last 6. So I got to have him at number 1.
I'm going to ask you this, Wilds. I know you're a Ravens guy. You know, You love Lamar. Would you be okay with a team that evidently has, like, a team that's currently the 5 seed having 2 of the top 5 MVPs?
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Since when?
Since right now.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I
Where
would
are you
actually
guys
flip
at?
Derrick Henry and
So you got Henry as the MVP?
well, for a few, I think there is I know this is our first year of Bruce Ballot, but there is some Lamar fatigue, I think. And I also, just narratively, like what changed in that offense?